You're listening to the Overcome Pornography for Good podcast, episode 231. Welcome to the Overcome Pornography for Good podcast, where we take a research-based, trauma-informed, and results-focused approach to quitting porn. This approach has been revolutionary and changed thousands and thousands of lives. I'm your host, Sarah Brewer.
Welcome everybody to the podcast episode this week. My name is Hunter. I'm one of the coaches here at the Center for Overcoming, and I'm so excited to be here with you. In this podcast, we're going to be sharing the importance of understanding a comfort zone. Okay, the importance of creating an understanding of what your comfort zone looks like is very important. Okay, every single person has a comfort zone, or I like to call it a green zone, right? A place where you feel comfortable, a place where you feel safe, and a place where you're emotionally regulated. That's what a green zone is. And it's really important as well to understand that every single person's level of comfort and discomfort varies. Everybody's unique. And so it's really important not to compare to other people, okay? Your comfort zone and your discomfort level is unique to the next person. So don't get caught up in comparing, okay? I have a little example here that I want to share with you guys that can kind of help us grasp this concept a little bit better. So I want you guys to picture a rubber band, okay? I'm going to hold up a rubber band, pretend I'm holding one up. And this rubber band represents something called the window of tolerance, okay? Your window of tolerance. It's basically the mental and emotional state where you can handle stress or without getting overwhelmed and shutting down, okay? So it's, just daily stresses that come up, right? Life happens sometimes, but it's where you can still regulate your emotion healthily, feeling okay without getting burnt out or overwhelmed. So if I hold this rubber band up and I barely stretch it just a little bit, this is what's called the green zone, okay? Like what I touched on earlier, right? A place where you're feeling comfortable and regulated. This green zone is what you're experiencing a little bit of stress, but things are still feeling really solid. It's a sweet spot, okay? It's that sweet spot where you're feeling really good, feeling grounded, safe, and able to still think nice and clear, okay? Now, what happens with this rubber band when big occurrences happen in your day or in your life, right, is something called a hyperarousal, okay? It's a place where you're feeling dysregulated. So if I stretch this rubber band out way too much, right, that rubber band's going to start to get really big. And if it starts to get really big, that means there's going to be more tension on the rubber band, which can cause it to snap. And so when it starts to get really tight, when that rubber band starts to get really tight, this shows what happens when you are in hyperarousal. Now, this is when stress is pushed too far and your nervous system starts to get a little overloaded. This is where you may feel anxious, you may feel like you're panicking, maybe a little bit of anger coming involved, or you feel agitated, irritable, like everything is just about to come crashing down. That's what hyperarousal looks like. And this is a very uncomfortable place to be, right? When you're feeling anxious, you're panicking, you feel agitated, right? That's not a great place to be. Now I'm going to pause here before I really talk about how to process this great stuff. I want to touch on the other end of it as well, okay? So we got hyperarousal, which is feeling anxious. Now on the other end of the spectrum, there is hypoarousal, okay? Hypoarousal is what it looks like if I just completely let the rubber band go. If I completely let the rubber band go, it's going to be flimsy and floppy. It's not really going to do much, right? There's no tension in it at all, okay? This is what hypoarousal looks like, okay? When you're stressed because you're shutting down instead of ramping up, right? So if you're stressed out, instead of getting anxious and agitated, you just start to shut down. What this looks like, other emotions, is, you may feel numb, feel like a disconnect between you and yourself, or maybe you and other people. You kind of just check out. Another word for it is, you're just feeling a little depressed, right? A little flat. This is hypoarousal. Now that's on the other side, right? Other side of the spectrum. So we have hyperarousal, which is stressed out, hypoarousal, which is feeling disconnected and numb. Now it's really important to understand that it is okay to feel this way. Feeling a little bit more stressed out or anxious or feeling a little bit more dysregulated is normal, and it's okay, all right? We all step out of our window of tolerance sometimes, especially when life, comes full force at us, right? Throwing some curveballs at us. It's okay. But what matters most is that we can notice when you're feeling this way, a little bit more of discomfort, and how we can get back into it, okay? How we can lean back into our window of tolerance and learn how to process our emotions correctly to where we can get back into our green zone. That's the whole goal here, okay? So I want to just clarify it's okay to feel a certain way, feel a little bit more agitated or feel a little bit more flat sometimes. I want to share this quick example that has really helped me that and might help you understand what this looks like, okay? So obviously, you guys know I went through the program a couple years ago, and before then, I was struggling with pornography, and it was something that was getting very frustrating. And before I really understood how to process my emotion correctly, something like this would occur. I'd be really stressed out from school, or I'd be stressed out from, baseball in high school, or family or friend things would come up, or I'd even just be bored and home alone. Any of these emotions that brought stress, frustration, anxiety, or boredom would bring out this very uncomfortable feeling. And these emotions were very uncomfortable, but I didn't know how to process these emotions. I honestly thought that everybody felt the same way with these certain emotions, right? When you feel bored, you just automatically want to go, try to avoid boredom. And so, for me, I'd turn to pornography. And I thought that was normal. I thought that was like a way you kind of just fix your boredom or fix your stress. So I would turn to pornography in hopes to avoid that discomfort, to avoid those emotions that were bringing that really uncomfortable feeling. And we all know, obviously, if you turn to pornography trying to avoid those emotions, it does not work, right? It doesn't help. It just makes it worse. And in other words, it's like I stretched that rubber band too tight or it wasn't stretched enough. I was either flat or feeling anxious with those emotions. Something that was really powerful practice that really helped me understand and learn how to regulate this emotion and to get back in my window of tolerance were these few things. The first thing I would always try was to deep breathe, okay? And, there's a lot of different routes you can go here. There's so many different ways you can go about breathing techniques. But one that really helped me was I would breathe in and I'd call out an object around the room. Okay, so I'd breathe in, picture frame. Okay, it sounds funny, but I promise you it works, okay? Breathe in, call an object out, breathe out. Okay, breathe in, call something else out, breathe out. Doing that is going to do two things. It's going to get you enough oxygen to your brain, okay? Because sometimes when you're feeling a little more anxious, you're going to start to breathe a little bit lighter. And so doing that deep breathing can help you get back into your brain a little bit more. The second thing it's going to do, it's going to pull you into your environment. If you guys know me from here at the center, right? I always talk about being present and becoming present and what that looks like. And being in your environment is really, really important. Grounding yourself. Another one that really helped me was talking to someone I love, right? Talking to somebody that I know that I can connect with very quickly, whether that's a family member, a friend, a spouse, a wife, whoever it is. Something like connecting with other people can be really, really helpful. Another one that really helped me is going for a walk or any physical practice that you can, exert some energy into. So I always share this idea of going to the gym. I love going to the gym. And so for me, going to the gym and taking that energy of that discomfort or those uncomfortable feelings, going to the gym and putting my energy towards that exercise. And I'm not just doing it to, get stronger, right? I'm doing it with an intention of, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym to process whatever emotion I'm feeling right now. That really, really helped. The last thing that really helps me is asking myself a few of these questions, okay? And a few of these questions can go like this. What is the thing that triggered me? What triggered me to go into hyperarousal or hypoarousal? And ask yourself that and make sure you write it down. What sensations did I feel in my body? What sensations did I experience? And the last question that can really help is what can help me or what has helped me in the past to come back to my center, to ground myself, to pull myself back into the green zone or the window of tolerance. Asking yourself those questions and writing them down is so helpful. It is really important that once you get back online or you're regulated again, to write down how you feel, understanding that when you get out of your comfort zone and then understanding what you did to pull yourself back. Doing this will help you so much for next time. Okay. Gathering data and applying it for next time is where you're going to find so much success. And notice that I'm not even touching on this idea of if you view pornography, ask these questions. This is just emotional regulation, generally speaking. Being able to understand what emotions are coming up, writing them down, and asking yourself, how did I process this next time will really, really help you, I promise you. And then it'll then bleed into overcoming pornography, because an emotion's going to come up. Instead of viewing pornography, you can process that. Eventually, it's going to become second nature, and then you can move on. So the goal here with this concept of what your window of tolerance looks like is to have an idea of when you start to feel a little bit more discomfort on hyper aroused or feeling hypo aroused, and writing that down. Okay. The key here is recognizing when you're outside of that window of tolerance and learning how to bring yourself back using those few things that I shared, right? Deep breathing, reaching out to someone and connecting with them, doing a physical activity that can really help you with intention process an emotion. Relating your emotional regulation, just like this rubber band, can be really helpful. Understanding and asking yourself the question, is my rubber band being a little more stretched out right now? Or is it flimsy, right? Is there not much tension to it? Asking yourself this question and answering accordingly can really help you process what's going on. Because a lot of times when emotions come up, they come up so fast that your rubber band all of a sudden just like stretches out super fast. And it's really hard to ground yourself and pull yourself back in, asking yourself these questions. But if you can understand and put a physical object to it and say, okay, my rubber band is very stretched out right now. What can I do, or what have I done in the past to help me process this back into my regulation? Now, when you're outside of your window of tolerance, whether hypoaroused or hyperaroused, your body thinks that it's in danger and your brain goes into survival mode. Okay, even if your threat is not physical, okay, even if it's an emotional threat in your brain, which is where that discomfort comes from. And that's why it's really important to understand that and move forward. Last thing I want to leave with you guys before we call it a day is this idea of a blue zone, okay? And this blue zone can really, really help you pull yourself back into your window of tolerance. Now, what this blue zone is very simple. All I want you guys to do is think about a place, like a physical place, that can bring you a lot of safety and comfort and joy. And a lot of people, especially if you live inland, are going to say, oh man, the beach is just the best place ever. Other people say the mountains. But describing this place physically, describing this physical place can really help you pull yourself back into your window of tolerance as well. Give that blue zone idea a shot. Email me your guys' blue zones. I want to hear all about them. You guys are absolutely incredible. Keep up the hard work. Continue to listen to the podcast and have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
I want to invite you to come and listen to my free class, How to Overcome Pornography for Good Without Using Willpower. We talk about how to stop giving into urges without pure willpower or relying on phone filters so that you can actually stop wanting pornography. We talk about how to stop giving up after a few weeks or months. And spoiler alert, the answer isn't have more willpower. And then lastly, we talk about how to make a life without porn easily sustainable and permanent. If you're trying to quit porn, this class is a game changer. So you can go and sign up at sarahbrewer.com/masterclass, and it is totally free.